For this week's Manhwa Variety Pack, I have for you a assortment of modern manhwas to enjoy. Feel free to jump around as the titles are timestamped in the video. Our first manhwa for this week is Return to the Day I Joined the Army, an overpowered modern manhwa that I've kind of read up at chapter 72 on. Its main character is Kim Min-jun, an individual who found himself transported to Isgard, another world that has the usual fantasy settings that you would expect. All he ever wanted to do though was go back home, and he took the job as a dark mage and saved the world enough and actually was able to get sent back. However, before his powers were removed by the saint of that world, he forcibly goes back to Earth himself. Powers intact, but very nerfed. What's the best way to gain his power back? The forced enlistment of modern Korea. Very eager and actually quite cunning and overall talented, be prepared for an entertaining, comedic, and military-focused tone all about Min-jun's growth in Earth and his particular obsession. The story is 9 out of 10. 2D obsessed dark mage starts growing his strength back on Earth is definitely an intro to a story. His attitude and overall motive to try and be promoted in the military somehow just keeps getting misunderstood as him being quite the hero and overall loyal and capable soldier. The characters are 8 out of 10. From military seniors, officers, some potential love interests maybe even, and some more interesting characters down the line, there are quite the number of characters. While definitely more on the simple side though, they allow a lot of the detail and world to actually be fleshed out. The art is 9 out of 10. Dark magic and demonic energy is usually perceived to be quite evil or negative. Whilst the color scheme stays the same with its kind of dark purpley or blackish color, it's usually utilized to coincidentally save people. And almost like a switch up on the traditional light equals good and dark equals bad, the character expressions and overall situations serve as a good backdrop and even comedic relief with some of the more serious setups. So if you enjoy modern fantasy action manhwas and enjoy the focus on the military similar to the Cook of a Perished World from my previous videos, then Return to the Day I Joined the Army should definitely be given a read. This next manhwa to take a look at is Level 99 Princess of Black Flame, a modern fantasy manhwa that I've kind of read up to chapter 41 on. The protagonist of this tale is Cha Eun-ha, an individual who witnessed the beginning of the typical modern fantasy trope of monsters and dungeons that is a very common setting now in manhwa. Drafted in the military for having the flame talent, she leads a group of awakened individuals through a supposed C-rank dungeon. What is supposed to be an easy conquer though, ends up eliminating everybody except for Eun-ha and one other person, to which she chooses to sacrifice herself and allow him to go through the exit portal. As she somehow survives this particular fatal encounter, the dungeon constantly resets until a long time passes. Through a fortunate encounter with a divine beast, she's able to escape the dungeon that she was stuck in, but 30 years have passed. Think like 1990s to 2020s type of time frame. Now, weirdly having to adjust to a more modern lifestyle, what will Cha Eun-ha choose to do? The story is 7 out of 10. An overpowered female character in the typical common modern fantasy setting is fine, but with Eun-ha being somewhat lost, it leaves the story somewhat directionless, at least for now. Its only saving grace is that there is enough interest in Eun-ha's capabilities that force a number of people to investigate and affect Eun-ha's life whether she likes it or not. The characters are 8 out of 10. From the onset, it is hard to determine whether or not this will have more of a romance spin on things, but at least for now, characters clearly have a lot of layers to them as we only really get a small speck from Eun-ha's perspective for these people. Even over the 41 chapters so far, you can tell that there is clearly more to them that meets the eye. The art is 8 out of 10. Overpowered goth princess cosplay is definitely the concept this manhwa is going for. The fact that the set bonus for enhancing Eun-ha's ability just adds that forced nature of things even if she doesn't like it, but of course it's just not limited to that. We also get to see more casual or touching moments that choose to reflect on the past, or at least Eun-ha's, and resolve to actually live for the future that she lives in now. So if you're a fan of modern fantasy manhwas where the main character is overpowered, and an art style centered around a goth princess seems appealing, then give Level 99 Princess of Black Flame a shot. The Regressed Extra Becomes a Genius is the first of 2 shorter stories I have for you this week. It's a reincarnation into a novel manhwa that I've read up to chapter 29 on. Kim Sun-woo is the name of its main character, and he abruptly, one day, found himself reincarnated as an extra of a novel that he read before. As more of a timid individual, he found himself just living a normal, proper life as an extra and did not get involved at all with the main characters or its plot. What both Sunwoo and maybe even you, the reader, may think would be a story well completed doesn't actually come to fruition. The supposed main character of said story ends up perishing and is on the news. And right after, the whole entire world resets and Sunwoo now finds himself 7 years in the past at the academy once again. Resolving himself to make sure he can return to his original life, he wants to ensure that the main story plays out as the novel intends. But we know that won't be the case, of course. The potential is 8 out of 10. The setting, motive, and overall direction are not exactly unique, but already having a plausible ending but having it denied by the world does at least give some sort of reason as to why Sunwoo's actions cause a butterfly effect now. Clearly, the novel world is not exactly the same, but outside influence from him is required to progress. At the same time, each of the characters in this immediate academy setting are quite the interesting individuals. The art is also 8 out of 10. Magic and its multiple forms is one aspect of this manhwa that I've been personally interested in. It presents it as kind of 4 major forms or 4 major schools with each utilizing mana in different ways. From the more traditional views of magic and manifestation like fireballs, but also the more uncommon ways like physical enhancement through the usage of mana. This, plus an overall pleasant art style, gives an adequate backdrop to an interesting start of a manhwa. So if you enjoy newer stories with an initial academy setting for a reincarnation into a novel manhwa, or something that seems to evoke similar feelings to the Dragon Slayer Academy's Hotshot or the novel's Extra from my previous videos, then keep your eye on the Regressed Extra Becomes a Genius. The other shorter story I have for you this week is Dr. Shin Seonhan Who Sees the Future, a medical manhwa that I've currently read up to chapter 14 on. The focus of this story is on Shin Seonhan, an individual whose family legacy is a sashimi restaurant. He was entranced though one day by a doctor shown on TV, and that's where he found his calling. Attending a university that ended up closing one day due to corruption, Seonhan luckily ended up getting an internship at Yongguk University Hospital. Now as the new resident, or at least one of them, he will have to tackle the world of healthcare. As he works through the various rotations that new residents go through, Seonhan experiences a weird vision. And what do you know? That vision actually comes true. With no explanation or system to even assist him, trying to merely save more patients, Seonhan may be able to use this particular ability to help more people. The potential is 9 out of 10. As a fan of medical manhwas overall, Seonhan has a reasonable reaction to his foresight power. Initially quite unbelievable, he can't help but be suspicious, and honestly, it ends up resulting in that patient's life being saved. Of course, the fact that Seonhan is morally kind just makes it all the more pleasing for a doctor profession manhwa. The art is 8 out of 10. For those who might have watched the K-drama Resident Playbook, it kind of evokes that kind of feeling in manhwa form. However, instead of focusing on the OBGYN field, instead it follows, at least currently, the resident lifestyle that rotates through the various hospital departments. Otherwise, so far so good, it's a typical medical manhwa. So if you enjoy medical manhwas, similar to the Regressed Doctor Just Wanted to Live Quietly from my previous videos, then Dr. Shin Seonhan Who Sees the Future might be worth keeping a bookmark on. Welcome to the highlight portion of today's video. Our highlight today is Genius Grandson of the Lone Shark King, which I've now read up to chapter 89 on. Info card description will have links to my original opinion. Quick reminder, Kim Moo-hyuk is the name of its main character, and he's the grandson of one of the most notorious private lenders in Korea by the name of Chon Tae-san. Moo-hyuk's parents died when he was young, and so he ended up being under his grandfather and the other family members for years, but was disposed of once his usefulness was used up. Regressing back to the past, but already after his parents passed away, Moo-hyuk aims to be the successor to his grandfather's business. Knowing the future of Korea, of course, especially with regards to its economic policies, Moo-hyuk set out to get revenge. But the more he digs, the more the ones controlling from the shadows slowly start to be revealed. From the IMF crisis, making bank from the ridiculous economic situation during the Asian financial crisis as a whole, and overall amassing both wealth and power through consolidation and picking the right people, Moo-hyuk has really positioned himself to be a powerful shadow ruler. My previous score for this manhwa was 7 out of 10 for both potential and art. The story though translates to a 9 out of 10, as honestly, the initial impression did not give enough credit to how much of a rabbit hole Moo-hyuk would have to go down to truly achieve revenge for his parents. Given the pacing, also, which is extremely slow burn at this point, it's able to keep me at least invested enough that I actually find it enhances the overall plot. The characters also get translated to a 9 out of 10 as from Moo-hyuk, his grandfather, the various family members, and even those of both above ground and underground societies, there's quite a large amount of them, and we mostly get a Moo-hyuk viewpoint from all of them. The curious portion though is that we're only now getting to see the true powers that be for Korean society, and theoretically potentially even the whole world as well. The art though is staying at about a 7 out of 10. Considering it's a modern manhwa, due to the nature of Chon Tae-san's work, Moo-hyuk deals a lot with money and economics as a whole. For a backdrop, it's in the late 80s, early 90s as the IMF crisis for Korea looms over. Otherwise, it doesn't really highlight much as the expressions are honestly quite simple and the tone is very serious and doesn't let go. There's honestly no time for dilly-dallying. Genius grandson of the Lone Shark King gave me an impression of an almost nice little story about revenge for one's family being taken care of. But it has developed to be more about the politics between underground and above ground societies and the interweaving of those that have the capital and cash to truly control modern society. If you enjoy modern manhwas more about economics like Coin Jackpot After Divorce or Foresighting Investor from my previous videos, then this one is definitely one to look at. Would you agree or would you not? Comment down below your thoughts on this manhwa. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Write down in the comment section down below what manhwa you've been reading and I might just take a look. Till next time though, have a good read.